Hello and welcome to the First Impressions podcast. I'm your host, Martin McKay, and along with my friend Chris John Riley, we record the official podcast for the Forum of Incident Response and Security Teams. We look forward to seeing you this year at the 37th Annual FIRST Conference in Copenhagen, Denmark. The dates are June 22nd through June 27th, 2025. And now we join our interview in progress.
This time on the show, Martin and I are lucky enough to be talking to Matias Mesiä, Senior Specialist at NCSC in Finland. Matias, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I hope I managed to pronounce your name right. I know we were going to and fro a little bit before the call, so I hope I got it somewhere in the ballpark.
Yeah, that's great.
Great. And your talk is a case study of the city of Helsinki data breach in 2024. I mean, I was aware of the breach, but didn't look into it. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened and what you're going to be talking about at the conference?
Yeah, Helsinki is a capital of Finland. We have 5.5 million people in Finland and over 10% of them live in Helsinki. I think the amount of victims is around 300,000 to 500,000 people, the citizens of Helsinki. The incident happened in last spring. There was an old implementation of remote connection / VPN device. Helsinki monitored and saw something happened, and in a week they found out that there is a lot of data that the attacker had in the incident, and after that they saw that there was a lot of data related to the incident.
Well, I mean, it goes to show just one device that you're really not keeping track of is enough to kind of breach the defenses and get access to systems.
Yeah, it's a great example of one device which is kind of old and vulnerable. Only one device, nearly 500,000 people lost somewhat information about identity to addresses to some kind of health information.
That's a large percentage of the country, for such a small country to lose that much information. I can imagine that presents a number of issues, some of which I'm sure you're going to be talking about in the upcoming talk. But if everyone loses their information, then that presents a significant issue for those individuals, but as also the government, I imagine.
Yeah, of course, it was a big case in Finland for the Helsinki, for the citizens, for government, for NCSC FI, for organizations. Could this happen to our organization is the question that everybody asked in their organization. And of course, we have to do a lot of communications to municipalities and public sector and so on about the case that you don't want to lose your device old in the internet, at the edge of the internet, and easy target for the attackers.
Another part of this was also the communication you were just mentioning of communicating to the press, communicating to your partners. Can you talk? You're also going to be covering that in the presentation. Can you give us just a teaser of what that part is going to be about?
We did a lot of cooperation with Helsinki about communications. When there's a cyber attack in Finland, it gets a lot of media coverage. It doesn't matter if it's a small company or big company, there is always some kind of tabloid media articles about the case. And of course, they are asking from us, NCSC, as officials, that what is your take on this case? About Helsinki, we did multiple TV interviews and a lot of paper interviews. We were at the press conference about the data breach and so on. There is always a lot of media interest in cyber attack Finland.
So when it comes to talking to individual companies, I know that the wider media is one thing, like talking a little bit about what happened and trying to reassure people. But I imagine there's a lot of partnerships going on in the background between the NCSC, FI, and various other large organizations on how to secure their networks. Did you see an uptick in those kind of communications and a real interest in how do we make sure we're not next?
At first, there is a lot of rumors about was this a phishing attack or something like that. At the press conference, we said that it was a network device. After that, there is a lot of questions. Which vendor? Was it a Cisco? Was it a Palo Alto? Was it a Ivanti? After that, all the vulnerabilities that released in the previous months got asked about us. Was it this vulnerability? We cannot reveal the data about the vendor or device or version or vulnerabilities all the times. It isn't that easy, but of course we have to tell something about the case to like critical sector organizations in Finland.
It doesn't really matter what device or what vendor or any of that really. They're all vulnerable at some point if you're not patching properly, if you're not configuring them, and sometimes even if you are. So in the real world, that doesn't really matter whose fault it was.
You're right, and of course, at first, Helsinki told to the media they saw a Russian IP address behind the case, and it's the same thing. You can use address from Russia, from Australia, from Brazil, from Finland to use in the attack, and it really doesn't tell you much about the attacker.
I can imagine after the event as well, I guess you're seeing a lot of increased probing. Once there's an event of this kind and people get the hints that, oh, it was a remote access device, it was a VPN, I can imagine lots of people scanning large ranges to try and find what other VPNs are out there, both obviously the companies themselves to make sure that they're covering themselves, but also lots of external interested parties, I should say, also trying to see if there's anything else out there that they can exploit. Is that something that you saw?
Not a lot of though, but we got some information about local white hat hackers and so on about Helsinki services. And whenever there was some information, we always sent them to Helsinki. Could you check this information out? But I think nothing critical popped out after the case.
I mean, sometimes increased vigilance after these kind of events is both helpful and a hindrance, right? Because on one side, it's helpful because you have increased visibility and people are more likely to look, but also people are more likely to find things. You're more likely to have to deal with follow-up incidents.
Yeah, that's right.
Just to sort of wrap up, what haven't we asked about? What are people going to learn in your specific presentation that they should be eager to be there for?
Yeah, I have 3 sections in my presentation. The first one is to tell what happened in Helsinki. You know what I'm going to tell you about. The second one is the NCSCFI's role about in this kind of cases. What are we doing? Are we doing technical investigation? Are we providing guidance in communications? Are we doing or writing some kind of papers to the stakeholders or something like that? NCSCFI's role, and I think I'm going to compare it to our colleagues in Denmark or something like that, because NCSCFI is under the Ministry of Transport and Communications. Our Denmark colleagues are under military, and our Germany colleagues are under police. That gives you a hint that we are NCSCs are under different kind of ministries and so on. I think NCSCFI is pretty, should I say, flexible of what we do, but of course it's by the law. It have to be on the law that what we are doing related to the case. And the third section is lessons learned. I think I'm going to spend more minutes on this case because the lessons learned are not from the point of view of Helsinki. It's the point of view of NCSCFI. The processes we need as NCSC to provide guidance and help to organizations, to critical organizations. What should we do better? And the lessons learned, it's easy to do lessons learned, Skype or Teams. Write down what you find out. It's difficult to coordinate these kind of findings to real processes and doing, and it's really hard to implement them. We have found out that in big cases, we always write down a lot of information about the case and what we learned, but it's really hard to really implement them to production. I don't know if resourcing, maybe. It's not that easy, and I'll provide some of our lessons learned findings about the case.
Thank you very much for taking the time to come and talk to us about this. It sounds like an interesting talk. For people who are attending the conference, your talk is on Monday the 23rd at 11:45 in the morning. So really looking forward to seeing your talk and finding out more about the lessons learned and how you coped with this.
Nice to see people at Copenhagen.
You've been listening to the First Impressions podcast, the official podcast for the Forum of Incident Response and Security Teams. We thank you for listening, and you can find out more at first.org, and we hope to see you in Copenhagen, Denmark, June 22nd through 27th. Thanks and goodbye.